All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick's Ranked in Pokemon. In this video, I want to talk about some of the things that went on in last night's live stream that we did here on the channel. Honestly, probably one of the coolest and most interesting Metazoo-related live streams I've done on the channel. It was a pretty big stream. I think it's got almost 2,000 views right now on the replay. But the chat was going crazy. There was like 185 people, I think, at the peak watching, and it stayed at like 150 viewers the whole stream, which I know that's not the biggest stream in the world, but for a Metazoo-related stream, just opening packs and just talking shit, it was pretty big. So there's a lot of people in there, including Gary King Pokemon. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably familiar with Gary. He sold Logan Paul one of those Charizard cards. He's been kind of a big figure in the collectible community for a while now. So Gary was in the chat, and he was saying a lot of things. One of the questions that I asked Gary was, is Steve Aoki still involved with Metazoo? Because I know that a lot of people have been wondering about that. It's still in Steve Aoki's bio, but one of Steve Aoki's recent Hero Quest projects, he released like this collector's box with like I don't know what all was in it, but one of the things that was in it was a pack of cards for Hero Quest that he made himself and not through Metazoo, where in the past he had Metazoo make Hero Quest cards. Now, another interesting thing that Gary said, so as we were streaming, Gary was saying a bunch of different stuff, but he said if we get to 175 live viewers, he'll reveal 2 secret scoops about Metazoo. And we did get to 175 live viewers. So the first scoop was that he said on the next season of Pawn Stars, he will be on there with a Metazoo product on one of the episodes. And that Mike will be coming in, Mike Waddell will be coming in as the expert on the Metazoo cards that he's bringing in the Pawn Stars. And then he went on to say that what they're bringing in is going to be an uncut sample sheet of Metazoo cards. So probably one of the most desirable possible uncut sheets from Metazoo. And that was pretty interesting in and of itself. But he also mentioned that during the stream he was on the phone with Steve Aoki. Then during the stream he was on the phone with Logan Paul. And he said something to the effect of, Logan Paul also collects Metazoo. So he's dropping all these kind of bombshells during the stream. So overall, what do I think about the potential of Metazoo being on Pawn Stars, like Gary is saying, if that's true? And again, I'm going to take his word for it because he seems like a pretty reputable dude. It doesn't seem like he would really have any reason to lie. But if Metazoo is on it, I think it's probably going to be a little bit underwhelming. I know a lot of people were excited to hear Gary say that. And yeah, that probably would be one of the most mainstream avenues that Metazoo's ever been on if it were to be on Pawn Stars. That's pretty big exposure to a lot of people. But as we've seen, some of the things that we've gotten excited about with Metazoo, like Metazoo being in Walmart or Target, it didn't really have that mainstream effect that we thought it would, opening it up to this exposure from other people. It was kind of a situation where, and again, that's a different situation, but in these big box retail stores, it was mostly people that were already interested in Metazoo going to pick up the Metazoo cards and really clean them out of whatever they had. So I don't think that many people that weren't already into Metazoo were really exposed to it by the whatever they were selling in Target and Walmart at the time. So I say that as kind of a comparison to this because Pawn Stars is on the History Channel. And a lot of the stuff on Pawn Stars, I think, is very scripted. And I think that the main purpose of Pawn Stars is to have people bring in like historic items and then give a little bit of backstory, give a little bit of history. So as you're watching, you learn something. I think for the most part, a lot of what's televised on Pawn Stars are people bringing in stuff that they have no intention of selling, that Rick from Pawn Stars has no intention of buying. It's just kind of to provide like a little back and forth about the value, a little back and forth about the history, and a lot of times there's actually not a sale. So I say that to say, like, when it comes to, Gary has already been on Pawn Stars with Pokemon cards, and Pokemon is a little bit different because on Pawn Stars you get like historic collectibles that are vintage, and you get to learn a little bit of something about the history of that collectible, and Pokemon, I think, falls into that category. The weird thing about Metazoo being on the show, because I think the show is primarily history-driven and looking for vintage items, is Metazoo is not a vintage trading card game. So I wonder, A, how significant and how long this segment is even going to be, and B, are most people that are watching the show even going to care or notice or retain anything about that segment? Metazoo only being, 3 or 4 years old at this point. It's not a vintage collectible. And obviously, I think if Gary is bringing in the uncut sheet of sample cards, he's got no intention of selling them. It would just be for kind of entertainment purpose of the show. And I know that Chum Lee, to some extent, is interested in Metazoo, and he shows up to the Collecticons and stuff. But I kind of worry it's going to be the same thing that we saw with like the big box introduction of Metazoo. It's mostly going to be Metazoo people that know about this tuning in and are excited to see Metazoo on Pawn Stars. I wonder how many people watch that and will really think, oh, I'm going to go check out Metazoo and buy some, especially when you look at I'm sure the barrier of entry to them is going to seem very high when he comes in with this uncut sheet of promo cards, sample cards rather, and I'm sure the price is going to be ridiculous. And I'm sure that might even turn off a lot of people of even getting interested in Metazoo. And then the people that might see Metazoo for the first time on Pawn Stars, they're going to look it up, and a lot of the things they're going to see are negative articles, negative videos, negative posts, because the last couple of years, Metazoo's track record has been pretty bad with late product, not meeting deadlines, not coming through on what their plans for the year was, sets not being released, players being unpaid, people being unhappy, the artists leaving. I think when you search Metazoo right now, a lot of negative stuff is going to come up. So if you got past that initial barrier to entry of saying, oh, a sheet of sample cards is worth whatever, $100,000, or I'm sure it's going to be something astronomical like that, and they go and look up Metazoo, a lot of what they're going to find is going to be negative, and they're going to see all these cards that are, listed on eBay, and maybe they pick up a cheap box. That could be, if you look at it in a positive way, maybe they get on and just search eBay or TCG Player, and they find a booster box for $20 right now, and they could have a cheap entry point to Metazoo. So you could look at it in a positive way, but I feel like it's a weird fit for the show, considering it's not a vintage collectible. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out if it does happen. I thought it was interesting that Gary pointed out that Steve Aoki is still involved, and that he was talking to Gary, he said, about the stream. And the other interesting thing about the stream was I still don't fully know what exactly was happening yesterday on Discord. People were saying on Argos's Discord, people were getting banned. Whether it was talking about the Andy situation, talking about the artist leaving, whatever it specifically was. And then a lot of those people in the Discord came over to the stream and were venting about various things with Metazoo. And a lot of people were calling that stream like the funeral of Metazoo, and then everybody from the community showing up to watch. And we talked about all these different topics. So if you haven't watched the replay, I highly recommend it. It was a very entertaining live chat. Some of the artists even, I think 3 or 4 of the artists popped into that live chat and were interacting with the fans a little bit, and I thought that was pretty cool too. But overall, very interesting past week or so of Metazoo news. And I did want to clarify, I saw that Umu guy. You guys might know, you might have seen Umu's Metazoo videos. He made a video about my video of the artist leaving. In the majority of his video, he was insinuating that the female artist that I was talking about that Andy was involved with was Lily. And I commented on that video clarifying that it was not her. I know there's been rumors spread about her by some other YouTubers that are just really full of shit. She's married and has a baby. And Umu's video was like insinuating that she had a relationship with Andy. Anyway, that's not the case. I want to make that very clear. When I said I didn't want to name that artist, it was because I didn't want to bring them into it. But the artist that I'm talking about is Afton. So I wanted to name them in this video just to avoid any confusion, because I guess there's been all these rumors spread about Lily, but it's not her that I'm talking about in that video. So just wanted to clear that up. And because his whole video was like talking about her, and I was like, where in my video did I even imply that it was her? And I guess there's some other YouTuber that started some rumor about her and Andy. So I really wanted to clarify that. I was talking about Afton. I'm going to go ahead and name her in this video. And the reason I didn't name her in that previous video is because I was thinking about it when I was making the video. And I was, realistically, if you're dating this guy that calls the shots at a company, and he's offering you, these unique opportunities to really get yourself ahead in your career as an artist, do we really expect any girl in that position that wants to pursue a career as an artist to turn down the opportunities being offered to her? No. So I don't think she's really at fault for accepting or participating if he's offering these things to her. So that's why I didn't want to name her in that video, because realistically, most people in that situation are just going to accept the offer and try to take advantage of as many opportunities as they can to get ahead in their career. I think that's true for any career. So I don't think you can really fault her for that. And that's why I didn't want to name her in that video where we were talking about some of the artist experience with Andy. But I did want to clear that up because that kind of bothered me that the Umu video was like focused at Lily and it had nothing to do with her. So I wanted to clarify that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Metazoo on Pawn Stars, good thing, bad thing. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. Let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Nick Strength and Pokemon signing out.